Have you ever felt like nobody sees the real you, but you know you've got something special inside? That's what this story is about, set in Seattle in 2025. It's about Lena Huang, a 29-year-old woman who's had a tough time. She used to be a pro at computational linguistics, working on AI that could translate languages perfectly. But life got hard. Her immigrant parents lost their small business, and now they owe a lot of money. To help them, Lena took a job as a waitress at Crystal Haven, a nice restaurant by the water. She wears a white shirt, a red apron, and keeps her hair in a neat bun. It's not her dream job, but she stays strong, knowing she's doing it for her family. It was a busy night at Crystal Haven. Plates clinked and people talked loudly. Lena moved fast, carrying trays and smiling at customers. Tonight felt big. A group had booked the fancy corner booth for an important meeting. Marcus Reed, the boss of Reed Tech Solutions, sat at the head of the table. He was in his 40s, wearing a sharp suit, and looked like he owned the place. His team was with him, all in nice clothes, laptops ready. They were there to close a deal with a woman from Singapore. Reed Tech needed this deal to grow their business in Asia. Word was, their company was struggling and this could save them. When Lena came to take their drink orders, she felt the mood shift. Marcus glanced at the menu and smirked. "Let's see what this place has," he said to his team, loud enough for her to hear. "Hope the service isn't slow like the last spot." One of his guys laughed and nodded. Lena stayed calm, writing down their orders for wine and starters. Her accent was soft from her family's roots, but it showed when she spoke fast. "Do you want the house red or something special?" she asked clearly. Marcus looked at her for a second, his eyes sharp. "House red's fine. Hurry it up, we're busy." As she walked away, she heard him whisper, "Did you hear her accent? Sounds like she just got here. Probably doesn't even know the menu." His team chuckled, one saying, "Yeah, boss, but the food smells good. Hope she gets our orders right." Lena paused by the kitchen door, her back to them. The words stung. People often judged her because of her uniform, thinking she was just a waitress. They didn't know she used to work on big tech projects. But she pushed it down. Her parents needed her to keep this job to pay their bills. The group settled in, and soon Ms. Tan Mei, the Singapore woman, arrived. She was in her 50s, dressed in a smart suit, and seemed serious but fair. She shook hands with Marcus, talking about the city and tech. "Seattle's doing great things," she said. "I want to see how Reed Tech fits with us." Marcus grinned, waving Lena over for drinks. He barely looked at her as she set down the glasses. Lena stayed close, filling water pitchers, catching bits of their talk. It was light stuff at first, weather, travel, nothing deep. When the starters came, shrimp and salads, things changed. Lena was clearing a table nearby, close enough to hear without trying. Marcus started his pitch. "Our system will change how you talk across countries," he said, passing a tablet to Ms. Tan. "It'll save you 30% on costs." His team nodded, but Lena noticed something off in his voice. It sounded too smooth, like he was hiding something. She remembered her old job, working late to fix AI that could understand languages perfectly. Now, in her apron, she felt invisible, but her mind was sharp. The main dishes came out: steaks, salmon, hot pasta. Lena served them carefully. "Enjoy your meal," she said quietly. Marcus waved her off, not looking up. As they ate, Ms. Tan asked tough questions. "What about data sharing? I need everything clear." Marcus smiled, pausing with his fork. "It's all normal stuff. Don't worry. We've got it covered." Lena, wiping a table nearby, saw his team exchange quick looks. One whispered, "Keep to the plan, boss." It was small, but Lena knew something wasn't right. Her old work taught her to spot tricks in deals like this. A quick memory hit her as she walked to the kitchen, her parents' faces when their store shut down. "We came here for a better life, Lena," her mom had said, crying. "Don't give up." That kept her going. She wasn't just a waitress, she was tough, waiting for her moment. Back on the floor, the rude comments got worse. Marcus called her over for more bread. "Hey, can you grab some? And try saying it clearer this time. Your accent's hard to follow." His team laughed, one adding, "Yeah, like, speak slow or something." Lena looked at him, her bun a bit loose from the long night, but she nodded. Sure, sir. Inside it hurt, but she thought of the bills piling up at home. She couldn't lose this job. As dessert menus went out, the business talk got serious. Miss Tan leaned in. Let's talk about the money split. Your plan seems off. Marcus laughed it off. It's fair, trust me. We've done the math. But Lena, pouring coffee nearby, heard the real plan. Marcus leaned to his guy, voice low. Once she signs, we change the deal. Keep the tech rights hidden. She won't see it in the fine print. It was a sneaky move to cheat the Singapore side. Lena's heart beat fast. Her old skills told her this was wrong. Marcus's attitude came from looking down on people like her, thinking waitresses didn't matter. The manager of Crystal Haven, a strict guy in a black vest, walked by and nodded at Lena. Keep it moving, he said. She did, but the jabs kept coming. Marcus, noticing her accent again as she refilled cups, spoke up. In tech you need to speak clearly. Maybe practice that. His team laughed, but Ms. Tan looked uneasy, sensing the tension. Lena stood there, tray in hand, her white shirt a bit wrinkled from the busy shift. She wanted to say something but held back, for now. Marcus turned back to Ms. Tan. So, about that money split? Marcus leaned forward, his voice smooth as he continued. The money split is solid, Ms. Tan. We've got your interests covered. Lena stood a few steps away, pouring fresh coffee into their cups, her red apron slightly creased from the long shift. Her heart pounded from what she'd just overheard, Marcus's plan to hide the tech rights in the deal's fine print. It was a dirty trick, one that could cost Ms. Tan's company big time. Lena's mind raced back to her days in computational linguistics, where she'd built AI to spot shady terms in contracts across languages. She knew exactly what Marcus was trying to pull. But here, in her white shirt and bun, she was just the waitress. Could she really step in? Ms. Tan's sharp eyes scanned the tablet Marcus had handed her. I need specifics, she said, her tone firm. The terms look vague on data control. Explain. Marcus waved a hand, his smile too easy. It's standard, I promise. You'll have full access to what you need. His team nodded, but one executive shifted in his seat, glancing nervously at the others. Lena, setting down a fresh pot of coffee, caught the look. It was the same kind of signal she trained systems to flag, someone hiding something. Her stomach twisted. She thought of her parents, drowning in debt, counting on her to keep things steady. Risking her job to speak up could ruin everything. But letting Marcus cheat Ms. Tan felt wrong. As Lena cleared empty dessert plates, she noticed the contract folder on the table. Marcus had left it open, pages peeking out. A quick glance showed a clause buried in small print, just as she'd suspected, terms that gave Reed Tech full control over the intellectual property, leaving Ms. Tan's company with scraps. It was clever, hidden in jargon, but Lena's old expertise cut through it like a knife. She remembered late nights in her lab, her parents' proud smiles when she landed that big tech job. You're our star, Lena, her dad had said. Now, she was invisible, but that knowledge was still hers. She hesitated, tray in hand. The manager was across the room, watching her like always, expecting her to stay quiet and do her job. Marcus's earlier jabs about her accent echoed in her head. Try saying it clearer. It stung, but it also lit a spark. She wasn't just a waitress. She was Lena Huang, who'd once run circles around execs like Marcus in boardrooms. The choice was clear, stay silent and safe, or act and risk it all. Her parents' faces flashed again, tired, hopeful, trusting her. She couldn't let this slide. Lena approached the table, coffee pot in hand, her voice steady despite her nerves. More coffee, Miss Tan? She asked, locking eyes with the delegate. Ms. Tan nodded, but her gaze lingered, like she sensed something in Lena's tone. As Lena poured, she took a breath and spoke softly, just for Ms. Tan. I couldn't help overhearing. The contract's data terms aren't what they seem. Check page 7, clause 3. It's not fair. Ms. Tan's eyebrow lifted, but she didn't react loudly. She flipped to the page, her eyes scanning the text. Marcus froze mid-sentence, his fork clattering against his plate. What's this? He said, his voice sharp. She's just the waitress. Ms. Tan held up a hand, silencing him. Let her speak. Lena's heart raced, but she kept going, her voice clear despite the faint accent Marcus had mocked. That clause gives Reed Tech full control over your tech rights. It's hidden in the wording, but it means you'd lose most of your stake. The table went quiet. Marcus's face reddened, his team exchanging panicked looks. The manager, noticing the tension, started walking over, his brow furrowed. Lena felt his stare but didn't stop. I used to work in linguistics, she said, looking at Ms. Tan. I know how these deals are written to trick people. Ms. Tan's expression shifted to one of keen interest. Go on, she said, setting the tablet down. Lena pointed to the clause. It says, shared access, but the fine print locks you out of key decisions. They're banking on you not noticing. Marcus laughed, but it was forced. This is ridiculous. She's out of line. We're here for a serious deal, not some server's opinion. His team murmured agreement, but Ms. Tan ignored them, her eyes on Lena. How do you know this? She asked. Lena swallowed, feeling the weight of the moment. I used to build AI for contract analysis. I've seen these tricks before. The manager reached the table, his voice low but stern. Lena, what's going on? You're here to serve, not talk business. Lena turned to him, her bun loosening slightly as she stood her ground. I'm helping make this fair, she said. The manager hesitated, glancing at Ms. Tan, who waved him off. Let her finish, Ms. Tan said, her tone leaving no room for argument. Marcus's smirk faded, his hands gripping the table. This is nonsense, he muttered, but his voice lacked conviction. His team looked down, avoiding Ms. Tan's gaze. Ms. Tan studied the contract, her finger tracing the clause Lena had pointed out. This is concerning, she said, looking at Marcus. Why wasn't this clear up front? Marcus stammered, it's just standard language. We can clarify it. But Ms. Tan wasn't buying it. She turned to Lena, her voice calm but firm. What would you suggest? Lena took a deep breath, her old confidence creeping back. Rewrite the clause to split the tech rights equally. Both sides share control, no hidden terms. That's fair. Ms. Tan nodded slowly, a spark of respect in her eyes. Reasonable, she said. Marcus's face twisted, but he knew he was cornered. Fine, he said through gritted teeth. We'll revise it. His team scrambled to pull up the digital contract, typing quickly. Lena stepped back, her tray still in hand, feeling the room shift. The manager watched, unsure whether to scold her or stay quiet. Ms. Tan handed the tablet to Marcus. Make the changes now, she said. I want transparency. The dinner resumed, but the power had flipped. Marcus's team worked fast, their earlier arrogance gone. Lena returned to pouring coffee, her hands steady, but inside she felt alive for the first time in years. As the revised terms were discussed, Ms. Tan kept glancing at Lena, who was now clearing cups from a nearby table. The conversation turned open, with Marcus forced to explain every detail under Ms. Tan's sharp questions. Lena's intervention had changed the game. When the meeting wrapped, Ms. Tan stood, shaking hands with Marcus, but her focus was elsewhere. She approached Lena, who was wiping down a table, her white shirt damp from the night's rush. You have a sharp mind, Ms. Tan said. Have you ever considered a role in negotiation? We need people like you in Singapore. Lena paused, her breath catching. The offer hung in the air, a door to a life she'd thought was gone. Marcus, overhearing, looked stunned, his earlier mockery now a bitter memory. The manager, standing nearby, raised an eyebrow but said nothing. Lena smiled faintly, her voice soft. I'd like to think about it, she said. Ms. Tan nodded, handing her a business card. Call me tomorrow. I see potential in you. As Ms. Tan left with Marcus's team trailing behind, Lena tucked the card into her apron, her heart racing with possibility. Lena stood frozen for a moment, Ms. Tan's business card still tucked into the pocket of her red apron, as the hum of Crystal Haven swirled around her. The restaurant's lights cast a warm glow, but the air felt charged, like everything had shifted in that single moment. Marcus Reed and his team were gathering their laptops and coats, their earlier swagger replaced by a tense silence. Marcus shot Lena a quick glance, his jaw clenched, but he said nothing. His eyes carried a mix of frustration and something new, maybe a grudging acknowledgement. The manager, hovering near the bar with his black vest and stern expression, gave Lena a look that was hard to read. It wasn't quite approval, but it wasn't his usual sharpness either. "Finish your tables, Lena," he said, his voice softer than she'd ever heard it, before turning back to the kitchen. She nodded, her hands smoothing her wrinkled white shirt, but her mind was elsewhere. The card in her apron felt like a key to a door she'd thought was locked forever. As the restaurant emptied, Lena worked through her closing tasks, wiping tables, stacking glasses, the usual routine. But her thoughts kept drifting to Ms. Tan's offer, a role in Singapore, a chance to step back into a world of negotiations and tech, the world she'd left behind when her parents' debts had piled up. She remembered the late nights at her old job, coding AI that could untangle complex contracts in seconds. That life felt so far away now, buried under the weight of her family's struggles. But tonight, speaking up about Marcus's shady deal had brought it all rushing back. She wasn't just a waitress. She was Lena Huang, and she'd always been more than what people saw. After her shift, Lena walked home through Seattle's chilly streets, the city's skyline glowing against the night. Her small apartment was quiet when she got there, the only sound the soft hum of the fridge. Her parents were asleep in their room, exhausted from another day of worrying about bills. Lena sat at the kitchen table, the business card in front of her, its edges crisp against the worn wood. She traced her finger over Ms. Tan's name, thinking of her parents' sacrifices. They'd come to America with dreams of a better life, opening a small grocery store with every penny they had. But when the economy tanked, the store failed, and the debts kept coming. Lena had given up her tech career to help, taking the waitress job to keep them afloat. "You're our rock, Lena," her dad had said last month, when she'd handed him a check to stop the bank from calling. That memory pushed her now. She couldn't stay stuck forever. She picked up her phone, her hands steady despite the flutter in her chest, and dialed Ms. Tan's number. It was late, but Ms. Tan answered on the second ring, her voice calm and professional. "Lena, I was hoping you'd call." Lena took a breath. "I want to take the role," she said, her words clear despite the faint accent Marcus had mocked. "I'm ready." Ms. Tan's tone warmed. "Excellent. Come to Singapore next month. You'll start on our negotiation team, working with contracts and AI systems. We need your mind." Lena's heart raced, a mix of fear and excitement flooding her. "Thank you," she said softly. When she hung up, the apartment felt different, like the walls themselves knew something big was coming. The next few weeks were a whirlwind. Lena gave her 2 weeks' notice at Crystal Haven, her last shift a strange mix of relief and nostalgia. The manager, usually so gruff, surprised her by shaking her hand as she left. "You did good work here, Lena," he said, his eyes meeting hers for a rare moment. "Don't forget us when you're some big shot." She smiled, promising to visit, but she knew she was closing that chapter. She packed light, a single suitcase with her clothes and a photo of her parents from their store's opening day, their faces full of hope. The flight to Singapore was long, but Lena spent it sketching out ideas for her new role, her old confidence creeping back. When she landed, the city's skyline hit her like a wave, towering buildings, bright lights, a place that felt alive with possibility. Ms. Tan's company set Lena up in a small office with a view of Singapore's bustling harbor. Her job was to analyze contracts, spot hidden terms, and train AI to do the same, ensuring deals were fair. It was like stepping back into her old life, but better, she wasn't just coding in a lab now, she was shaping real outcomes. She traded her waitress uniform for sharp blazers, though she kept her hair in that familiar bun, a nod to the resilience she'd built at Crystal Haven. Each day, she dove into work, her mind sharp from years of translating languages and decoding intentions. The team respected her, and Ms. Tan often stopped by to check in, her eyes gleaming with approval. "You're proving me right," she said one day, handing Lena a new project. Lena just nodded, but inside, she felt alive again. Back in Seattle, Lena kept tabs on Marcus Reed through tech news. ReadTech had sealed the Singapore deal, but only after rewriting the contract to be fair, thanks to Lena's push. An article quoted Marcus, his tone different, humbler. "We've learned to prioritize transparency," he said, "and to recognize talent, no matter where it comes from." Lena smirked, knowing her stand at Crystal Haven had forced that change. A colleague in Singapore mentioned that Marcus had started a program at ReadTech, offering internships to service workers, baristas, servers, people like Lena had been. It wasn't a full turnaround, but it was a step. His mocking words, "Try saying it clearer," had backfired, teaching him that underestimating people came at a cost. Lena's work in Singapore grew beyond her desk. She started mentoring young professionals, especially women from tough backgrounds like hers. She'd meet them after hours, sharing her story over coffee in small cafes. "I went from tech to waiting tables and back," she'd say, her voice steady, her accent no longer something to hide. "Don't let anyone tell you what you can't do." Her mints hung on her words, their eyes bright with dreams. One, a young coder named Sarah, grabbed Lena's arm after a session. "You make me believe I can make it," she said, her voice shaky. "You're like my hero." Lena's throat tightened. She hadn't set out to inspire, but those words felt like a gift, proof her struggle meant something. Her parents felt the impact most of all. With Lena's new salary, she cleared their remaining debts, and they moved out of their cramped apartment into a small house with a garden. During a video call, her mom held up a faded photo of Lena at her old tech job, her smile wide. "We always knew you'd shine again," she said, tears streaming down her face. Her dad, usually quiet, chimed in, his voice thick. "You made us proud, Lena. You carried us." Lena's chest ached with gratitude. She sent them plane tickets to visit Singapore, promising to show them the city's markets and lights. "We'll walk together," she told them, imagining their faces when they saw her new life. One evening, Lena stood on her office balcony, the Singapore skyline sparkling below. The air was warm, carrying the faint salt of the harbor. She thought back to that night at Crystal Haven, when Marcus's taunts had pushed her to the edge, and she'd chosen to speak up. It wasn't just about calling out his shady deal, it was about reclaiming who she was. She'd faced his bias, her own fears, and the weight of her family's struggles, and she'd come out stronger. Her courage had rippled outward, changing Marcus's approach, inspiring her men's, and lifting her parents. Lena wasn't defined by her waitress apron or her old tech badge. She was proof that strength could grow from struggle, that one moment of bravery could rewrite everything. Her men started calling her story the Crystal Haven moment, a tale they shared to motivate each other. Lena just laughed when she heard it, but deep down she knew it was true. She'd turned a night of mockery into a turning point, not just for her but for everyone she touched. As she stood on the balcony, the city's lights reflecting in her eyes, she felt a quiet pride. She'd fought for fairness, for her family, for herself. And now her voice, accent and all, was one others looked to for guidance. The story ends here, with Lena's courage shining like a beacon, showing that no matter where you start, your strength can light the way for others. Thank you for watching. If this story moved you, hit that like button, share it with someone who loves a good twist, and subscribe for more cinematic tales that hit you right in the heart. Let us know in the comments where you're watching from.